After we left Dr. Park, we were greatly encouraged by his message, and we feel like that they're on the cutting edge, and really it looks like we hope they're close to a breakthrough, but it just seems like we were very encouraged by what he had to say.
And encouraged by just his spirit as to he thinks he can find a cure and maybe train the next generation. If he doesn't, he feels like his research and work will bring the next generation even closer.
We have to get the best and brightest people to try to tackle this disease, or a group of diseases really, and it's not going to happen overnight, but some people think I'm, this just huge wishful dreamer, but someone's got to take this challenge and to try to figure out how we're going to, again, cure this set of diseases. It's not going to be just me. It's not going to be just one person. It's going to be a collective effort from everyone. And it's going to require a lot of resources in terms of funding, not only from the government. Now, especially, it's going to require even more support from philanthropic organizations, foundations, fundraisers like you guys are doing. So we're entirely grateful to people who understand our cause, who really push the boundaries of how we're going to support cancer research. It's really a necessity nowadays in 2008 if we're really going to make a big impact on this disease. Breast cancer is actually, we're lucky in the fact that we have a number of breast cancer dedicated organizations, Avon Foundation, Susan G. Komen, for example. But even with that, everyone's applying for all of those grants because they're trying to make up the difference. And as a result, we spend more and more of our time just sitting behind the computer writing grants. It's really unfortunate because it not only prevents you from being, or prevents me from being in the lab, but it prevents you from really thinking about creative, out-of-the-box type of ways to tackle how we're going to cure cancer. So federal funding, I always like to say, usually tends to move things in small increments. It's evolutionary rather than revolutionary. Whereas foundation support, they really understand that, and they understand that you got to take risks if you're really going to get a big reward from it. And so philanthropic support, again, foundation support, that's what really, I think, drives people to take chances and be a little bit more risky, knowing full well that most things that are high risk aren't going to work, but also knowing full well that high risk is usually equivalent with high gain. And so we try to balance that because we can't do all high risk stuff, but at the same time, to not try new and different things to me is we're never going to find a cure in my lifetime. And I'd like to think that we're going to find something of close to a cure, at least in my lifetime. We're not the only ones doing this. This is kind of big everywhere because everyone understands that to really push a drug through, from all the way from laboratory work to actual patients where they do large-scale clinical trials that make a difference, that literally takes about 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
amazing.
So the ability for someone like me to really make a difference with a drug, you get maybe 1 or 2 chances.
Sure. And when you talk about, training the next generation, you truly are. If it takes 20 years to get something from lab to...
Right, but that's going to be ultimately, my legacy is that it's not just the work I've done in my own lab, but also training the next generation.
Exactly.
And, these guys aren't dumb. They look at the landscape right now and they're thinking, wow, do I really want to go into this? Train for years and years and years. Typically people in their mid to late 30s before they start their careers now, and then have no funding to support them. And they're like, why would I want to do this?
It's very difficult.
Yeah, and the only reason I can tell them is because it's important work and we need to get it done and we need smart, talented people to do it. So getting back to that quote I said, if we're not going to be the ones to do this, then who is?